2,111 people were killed in the Mexican city of Juárez last year. Compare that to the war in Afghanistan, which has claimed the lives of 2,421 Afghan civilians. So does the United States need to pay more attention to violence just across our border? Joining me now, the former head of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, who is currently the president of Immigration and Customs Solutions, Julie Myers-Wood. Good morning to you.
Oh, good morning to you.
When you see those startling numbers, and we report almost on a daily basis about yet another slew of murders in Ciudad Juárez, what do you think?
I think Mexico's a war zone, too. It is shocking to see that there are more murders in that area than in the entire country of Afghanistan, even though we know that in Mexico many of the murders and killings are localized to certain border towns.
When you look at this map, though, I don't know if you can see it. I mean, you know this. Juárez is right on the border of Texas. I mean, for goodness sake, these murders are happening right in our backyard, and you say that we're naive to believe that these drug cartels are not operating right here at home, too.
That's absolutely right. In fact, yesterday, ICE announced the arrest of more than 760 gang members, most of whom were connected to Mexican drug organizations. So they are operating all throughout the United States. Absolutely, the violence is not as horrific in the U.S. yet, but we would be naive to think that it couldn't happen here.
So you say that the cartels are watching the United States government and the Mexican government to see what exactly they're going to do, how they're going to attack this, right?
That's right. They want to see if the U.S. government and the Mexican government are going to back down. They're hoping if they increase the pressure, if they really have attacks on politicians, if they have attacks on journalists, if they have attacks on law enforcement, that U.S. law enforcement and Mexican law enforcement will back off. But we absolutely cannot do that, and I think President Obama and President Calderon have said that's not going to happen.
All right, so what should we do? Because just last week we had the murder of a border agent, a U.S. border agent, Jaime Zapata. I mean, so that really brings it right back home yet again. What will the U.S. government do?
The murder of the ICE agent Jaime Zapata was absolutely horrific, and I think did focus the attention on this. I think the U.S. should look to the successes of Plan Colombia. And, you know, in Plan Colombia, DOD actually used counter-narcotics forces in Colombia. And I think that's something we need to think about at this point.
Well, let me ask you this, because Hillary Clinton, it was maybe as long as a year ago, compared Colombia to Mexico. Did you agree with what she said?
Well, I certainly agreed with her point that we ought to look to Plan Colombia's successes. And I think a lot of the focus was on her first point that Mexico was turning into an insurgency, but she actually went on to say we ought to look to how Colombia partially solved that problem through Plan Colombia. And I think on that point she was absolutely right. And we need to look and see, are we doing enough? Are we just giving the Mexicans equipment? Or are we actually giving them the infrastructure and capability that they need?
Okay, real quickly before you go, what is the relationship between America getting more involved to fight drug cartels in Mexico and our border security?
It's a very close relationship. You know, the ICE agent that was murdered was supposedly murdered with a gun bought in Texas and then crossed back across the border. And so that emphasizes once again that our Border Patrol has got to be on alert, that the Department of Homeland Security has got to have effective methods to make the border secure. If they're getting rid of SBI net, what are they doing to replace it? And have they thought long and hard about that?
All right. Very interesting discussion. Julie Myers-Wood, thanks for your time today.
Thanks a lot, Gretchen.
Coming up next.